My name is Ethan Caldwell, and I am a 27-year-old man living in the small town of Riverdale. Life in Riverdale used to be simple, a tranquil existence marked by the quiet hum of daily life and the occasional commotion of the local diner where I worked part-time. I had a beautiful girlfriend named Sarah, who later became my wife. We shared a modest flat in a 3-unit house that had seen better days. I enjoyed spending my evenings playing video games while Sarah studied hard for her classes, dreaming of a bright future. However, not everything was peaceful in our little home. We had 2 other tenants sharing our space, and one of them was trouble. One neighbor was an older gentleman who kept mostly to himself, but the other was a mature female student named Jenna. The thing about Jenna was that she seemed to take pride in being the clean tenant. The only problem with her was that she would consistently leave passive-aggressive notes pinned to our doors, complaining about how we did not clean the shared bathroom well enough. Honestly, Sarah and I took great care to leave the place tidy, but it felt like every time we turned around, there was a new note waiting for us. It became incredibly annoying. One Sunday morning, I stumbled into the bathroom to brush my teeth and wash my face, only to be greeted by a truly strange sight. There, covering the plug hole of the sink, was an odd, round rubber object. It was about 3 inches in diameter, and I had no idea what it was. My curiosity led me to fetch Sarah, who took one look at it and immediately recognized it as a contraceptive diaphragm. My head spun for a moment as the realization struck me that this belonged to Jenna. I told Sarah about the notes, and an idea began to take shape in my mind. In that moment, I decided I could no longer let Jenna dictate the terms of our shared living arrangement. I put on a pair of rubber gloves, lifted the diaphragm carefully, and thought about how to teach her a lesson she would not forget. That is when it hit me. This was my opportunity for revenge. With a bit of mischievous glee, I pinned the diaphragm to her door, alongside a note that read, "Please be sure to remove your contraceptive from the shared sink after washing it." The satisfaction I felt as I stepped back to admire my handiwork was indescribable. No more notes, no more complaints, and I would finally have the last laugh. I remember the mixture of anticipation and dread as I waited to see how she would react. Would she be embarrassed? Would this be the end of her passive-aggressive notes? A part of me secretly hoped she would find it funny and finally let go of her gripes about our cleaning habits. She never mentioned the diaphragm, and to my amazement, not only did she not leave any more notes about the bathroom, but our shared spaces became more tolerable overall. I felt like I had taken control of my own living situation. I would see Jenna occasionally, and there was no awkwardness or hostility. If anything, it seemed like the end of our war. However, with that perceived victory came the creeping realization that perhaps I had crossed a line. Was it wrong to take such an embarrassing and personal thing and weaponize it? I fluctuated between feeling justified in my actions and feeling guilt creep in. Days turned into weeks, and the atmosphere in our house was mostly peaceful. But then the unexpected happened. Jenna did not just go silent. She began avoiding me entirely. I would see her dodging out of the corner of my eye, choosing the stairs over the elevator if she saw me coming. It was strange. The dynamic had shifted in ways I did not anticipate. In an effort to clear the air, I approached her one day to talk. Hoping it would smooth things over, I apologized for my actions, admitting that perhaps I had gone a bit too far. Jenna stared at me, and for a moment I thought I could see a flicker of understanding in her eyes, but just as quickly it vanished. "Apology accepted," she said flatly, but her tone suggested she did not really mean it. I tried to bridge the gap, but she wanted no part of it. My attempt to set things right had only dug my hole deeper. Now I felt like the bad guy in my own story. Despite that, my resolve began to harden. I could not let this go unaddressed. I began plotting my next move, aware that by expressing remorse, I had unintentionally given Jenna the upper hand. I could not allow that to happen. So, in a moment of inspiration, I devised a plan that I thought would restore the balance of power. I would gather evidence of her own less-than-clean behaviors. I knew that Jenna had a habit of leaving her half-finished takeout boxes in the shared kitchen, along with dirty dishes that sometimes piled up on the counter. I played my role as the observant tenant and gathered my arsenal, photos of her mess for the world to see. But here is where I hit a snag. The last thing I wanted was to pit my neighbors against each other in a war of retaliation. I needed to show Jenna that I could be as dedicated to cleanliness as she claimed to be, yet I still felt the need for some form of a reckoning. I spent the next few weeks scrubbing down the shared bathroom, cleaning not just my area but her space as well. I might not be perfect, but I wanted to show her a different side of me, to become the cleaner, better neighbor. I left a note in my own handwriting on the shared bathroom mirror that read, "Thank you for trying to keep our apartment clean. Let us take care of our shared spaces together. Self-consciously, I wondered if Jenna would ever acknowledge my efforts as I placed the note on the mirror and stepped back. To my surprise, I heard a soft knock at our door later that evening. It was Jenna, standing there with a somewhat hesitant smile. "You really are trying, aren't you?" she said. In that moment, I realized that maybe we were not so different after all. While nothing about our arrangements changed overnight, we slowly learned to communicate more openly. The passive-aggressive notes turned into invitations for group cleaning days where we tackled the kitchen and bathroom together. Deep down, I understood I had initially sought revenge but had found something much more fulfilling instead. As months passed, laughter replaced our earlier grievances, and we all formed a strange yet harmonious bond. Sometimes I would chuckle at the memory of the diaphragm incident. It became a running joke among us. Every time we cleaned, we referred to it as the Great Diaphragm Dilemma. While Jenna and I still had our quirks, our past was behind us, and we had forged a new normal amidst the chaos of life. Even the old gentleman neighbor seemed pleased with the turn of events, grinning at our antics from his porch. Ultimately, the lesson I learned was that while revenge might have seemed sweet for a moment, understanding and collaboration were far more rewarding in the long run.